Well, for someone who was on the road the last week, you still seem very full of energy, which I love.
It's because I saw your face and I'm so happy to be with you.
Oh, stop.
But yeah, it's so nice to see you. It's been a crazy week. How was your week?
It was good. It wasn't as exciting as yours. You were following the women's national team, right? Pennsylvania, Connecticut, doing a whole tri-state Northeast kind of road trip, right?
It was my fifth cap with the U.S. women's national team.
Oh,
In East Hartford, Connecticut, the girls played in front of 26,492 fans. It was also legendary, twice World Cup winning, Olympic gold medal winner, Alyssa Nair's official goodbye. And she's from Connecticut, so the stadium was full. And I think you would love this detail. I saw the best Mexican wave in America to date. Gorgeous, like they really did it a few times, and I was so excited to see something. I don't know about you, but like I love Mexican wave. It
I
shows
hate the
so
wave.
much.
I hate the wave.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Why? Why
I
are
do.
you a wave hater?
Because I think it's something people do when they're bored at sporting events.
Interesting.
Like if you're
take.
focused on the match, you're not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, here comes everyone. Ready? Huh? Huh? Whoa!" Like watch the match. Like if you're that bored that you have to sit there and see people stand up around the stadium, like I don't
Don't
know,
forget,
but
there are a lot of moments where nothing is going on because somebody's injured on the floor, VAR, they're looking. Like, I'm not saying they were like stopping in a moment that was crucial for the game and then like, let's just do a Mexican wave. It was like, it was either for like a little break or something. But it was really, it was really
you're
epic.
making excuses for the wave now.
I'm trying to recruit you to the loving Mexican wave family.
Also, I didn't know it was called the Mexican wave. I thought it was just a wave.
When I was growing up in Istanbul, we called it the Mexican wave. It was first done in the Mexican World Cup.
Sounds like a future episode, the history of the wave.
Yeah.
After the break, Messi extends in Miami. There's a betting scandal in Turkey, and Jimmy Butler and Caleb Williams invest in NWSL on this episode of Finance of Football. I'm veteran sports journalist Michael LoRé.
And I'm the Athletics Women's Soccer reporter, Asli Pelit. When I think about World Cups and tradition, I am really excited. Like, what's going to happen? We already know the mascots. We both sewed together. We know the ball. We know that the first phase of the ticket sales ended with some of the people I know actually got lucky. You didn't get lucky. You didn't get tickets.
No.
You told
Yeah.
me. Yeah. And the second, when is it going to happen?
October 27th, the second pre-sale draw started, and it goes until 11 a.m. Eastern on the 31st. So if you haven't signed up for tickets, sign up in the hopes that maybe we get a chance to buy more. They sold more than 1 million in the first. I think it was the Visa pre-sale draw, and then they're going to release another 1 million. And the thing that's wild to me is the fact that we don't know who's playing where yet. We haven't had the draw, right? We're still a month and a half out from the draw, and you don't know. You're buying a ticket to MetLife Stadium. You're buying a ticket to Mercedes-Benz. You don't know what match you're going to go see. You know the date and the time. You don't know what countries you're going to go see. Kind of wild.
I heard so many complaints from people who I know are super fans. They want to be able to watch their team, follow their team like they would have done every other World Cup. A friend of mine didn't get the tickets in the first, pre-sale. He looked up the next day because his dream is to take his brother to a World Cup final, no matter who's playing. $25,000 nosebleed seats. 25,000. And not only FIFA is taking a cut from the reseller, they're also taking a 15% cut from the buyer. I'm like, how is that a good thing for your let's make it accessible to everyone tournament? We've never seen World Cup tickets being resold at any price you want kind of situation, which is, I think, United States is famous for. We have a whole robust resale market here. But you would think FIFA would stop that from happening so that people, if you're not going to go to that game, you or you got a ticket that you don't care about anymore, your team got eliminated, which happened in Brazil. Like I remember we bought tickets from somebody, like it was my day off, and we went to see a quarterfinal match, and somebody wasn't going to go because their team was already eliminated, so we bought it from someone, face value $60, quarterfinal in Sao Paulo. It was accessible, like it was perfectly fine. And I don't know why we're living through this fan hating, unexclusive, I don't know, or like strictly exclusive for rich people era in World Cup. And I think it's going to be sad. We're not going to have real fans. You know what? We're going to see a lot of people doing Mexican waves because they're not going to be watching the game.
Oh my god. No, they're not. They're going to be drinking their champagne and eating caviar and just hanging out.
Caviar bombs?
Caviar,
Caviar
exactly,
bombs?
yeah. In the nosebleeds from MetLife Stadium. No, it's sad, right? Like obviously you want to make this accessible, and going into Qatar in 2022, it was, oh, this is the global game, and we want to make it accessible and open for everybody, all walks of life, all socioeconomic, and all that. And we have a lot of people around the world, I'm sure, are going to blame American capitalism on this ticket pricing and this dynamic tickets, and we saw it with the Club World Cup, right? That the prices were astronomically high, and then they couldn't fill stadiums, and then they couldn't give away the tickets fast enough. So I don't think that's going to be the same situation as the World Cup, because the World Cup is the biggest sporting event on the planet. Sorry, Olympics, but it's sad when you have people who are willing to spend a lot of money to go see their country play, possibly for the first time, and they can't afford it because it's, do I put food on the table this week or do I go to the World Cup group stage? I don't know. And it's just it's very hard, and it's disheartening, and you don't want to make it this elitist game, but it's kind of becoming that. And it's sad because you see kids in the streets kicking around a deflated soccer ball, and this is how they fall in love with the game. And now they want to take their kids to see it, and people can't afford it.
Yeah, I think we passed way past the socioeconomic demographic that is thinking about putting food on the table or going seeing a sporting event in the United States. Long time ago, that's for sure. But this particular one is really, like you said, there are a lot of countries coming for the first time, and there are people who are willing to pay a little bit of money, but is the final for only the rich people. It is. I think my friend, he actually got a ticket for an Argentina game, no matter where it is. So he doesn't know which stadium. So he chose the option for following Argentina. Category 3 ticket he got for their first match, $320. And then their second match, category 3, $320. The third match, also category 3, $325. Category 3 is still not the most amazing seats. That's a steep, price. Not 25,000 for sure, but
No, but
steep.
that's almost $1,000 on 3 games, let alone
Food.
travel and transportation, food, all of those other things, right? Like, what if Argentina's playing in Miami, Vancouver, and New York for the group games, which scheduling nightmare, but you're then going from here to there to there. How much money are you spending on flights? How much money are you spending on hotels? And don't act like hotels are going to be cheap, because they know people are spending thousands of dollars on tickets. So, of course, hotel rates are going to get jacked up. Airbnb rates are going to get jacked up. Uber rates are going to get jacked up. And it's just like you're at the mercy of, do I break the bank to go to this match, or do I not? This could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So it's tough. It's hard. We're kind of at the mercy of FIFA. If I get picked in this next round, of course I'm going to try to buy some tickets, because again, I don't know. I've only been to a women's World Cup. I've never been to a men's World Cup, so I obviously want to go, especially if the finals in our backyard here outside of New York City.
Did you pick a team, or you just said I want any? Like
I said I want access to any tickets, anytime, any place. I will make it work. If I go to Monterrey, or if I go to Vancouver, or I don't care where I go, I want to go to the World Cup.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best options for perhaps a lot of people will be going and seeing these games in Canada and Mexico instead of United States. I bet it will be cheaper. It will
That's
be
true.
more, fan friendly. I think this is going to be something to watch closely. But while we're talking about Miami and Argentina, I guess we should talk about Messi.
Oh, what a segue! What a segue!
But yeah, let's talk about Miami. Messi's extension in Miami, Inter Miami. What did you think of that 6 months long waiting period for this guy to sign his contract? And yet he signed it where? In the middle of Freedom Park Stadium,
Mm,
set to open in 2026.
that's great.
Very on brand, I guess, to do such presentation.
We didn't know if he was going to resign, and if so, for how long, right? He's no spring chicken. I know I like to throw that term around a lot. I'm no spring chicken myself, but he's signed his extension through 2028. So that means through the World Cup, through the opening of the new $1 billion stadium there near the airport. So it makes sense for him to stay to usher in this kind of new era, or this advanced era of soccer, not only in Miami but in the United States, off the heels of the World Cup. So it makes sense. I think my biggest question, like, no one is doubting Messi's ability on the field, right? He won the Golden Boot this year. What were his numbers? 29 goals, 19 assists. I think only Carlos Vela had more goal contributions in a single season than Messi. And Messi is 38, 37, 38.
Yeah, I
So
mean, he's still young.
he's still young, but if he's going up against guys who are 27 and 28, like, that's a big difference. But he's still, he was the MVP in 2024, helped Inter Miami win the Leagues Cup his first season, the Supporter Shield. They've had success, but they haven't won MLS Cup. My biggest question is, regardless if they go on and win this season, Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, they're retiring at the end of this season. Luis Suarez, he's out of contract at the end of this season. You're losing this core Barcelona, group that they brought in for Messi.
Yeah, he's gonna have to
So
bring someone else.
exactly, does he bring in then the next group of former Barcelona players to come in and kind of surround him? Do they bring in more of his Argentinian national team teammates? How do you facilitate that?
He was at the NBC Nightly News, and he just talked about. I mean, this is probably a one in a million interviews of him on television in front of a camera because he's very camera shy, and he actually said something that is, I think, important and interesting at the same time. He says this league has all the potential to grow and become one of the like biggest leagues in the world,
Ronaldo
but
says the same thing about Saudi Arabia, by the way. Don't forget that.
but he said, I think the MLS needs to change its rule and so that anyone can bring any player at any cost. That is a very blunt statement. Doesn't really, echo with what U.S. sports leagues are all about. Here, the reason, the valuations that I think I saw you mentioned Inter Miami was pre-Messi valuation, according to Sportico, was 585 million, which at the time when I was working there, we talked with Inter Miami, his chief business officer, and he was projecting that by this year, the valuation was going to be already $1 billion. And Forbes actually also put it at 1.2 billion valuation. In order for the valuations to go up, they need to be cash positive and profitable. And if you're paying X amount of money, whatever, salary, if there's no salary cap, these valuations won't go up that significantly because they will be losing money, which is probably one of the biggest issues in some clubs in Europe, right? They get to the end of the year and they're broke. And maintaining, that financial positive status is what is the hardest thing in I think global football. Some clubs are doing it great because they're great, like you just mentioned Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man U, or
Listen,
whatever.
Barcelona and Manchester United both have their financial issues. Let's not, overstate
True.
those. They're two
Good
of the
point.
biggest, not only sports teams, but biggest brands on the planet, and they still have financial issues. One of the reasons why Barcelona wanted to play this match in Miami was because of the financial incentives, right? They've gone and they've played in Super Cup matches in Saudi Arabia because of the financial incentives. Obviously, they've qualified and advanced in that tournament, but they're doing things for money because they need it. Yes, these clubs are successful and they sell a ton of jerseys and television rights, but they still need the money. And I think if we throw out the current MLS rule system, and it's just the Wild West. We're seeing it in college sports with NIL, right? And these people are coming in, they're throwing money behind Ohio State and Alabama and whatever, and the government's getting involved. So how does that affect MLS? Not only from a product standpoint, like sure you get, maybe higher profile players who,
Of course.
but the thing too is like, what's my incentive? I'm going to go to MLS and make whatever $500,000 a week, or do I go to the Premier League and make $500,000 a week? Like, of course, I'm going to want to go to the Premier League over MLS, but do you like the job security knowing that there is no promotion relegation and the schedule is different? Like, why pick one over the other if the rules change?
I don't know if it's, think about it from a player perspective. Like, let's say if they were making the same amount of money and you're going to go to a mid-tier club in Europe or top club in MLS. You're going to play less games, number one. So you're going to have a chiller year. Security, like you don't have to think about fans like crashing your windows. When you lose a big game, they're going to come after you. So safety. I think that's one of the reasons why Messi loved being here too. Your kids can go to school here, whatever. Like the opportunities, maybe like there are certain things, especially if you're in a club where the club environment is fun and safe, and you already know some of the players. Like the whole Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, Messi thing was their wives are best friends. They were just like, of course I'll come. I want to make my wife happy. If that's
Happy
the
wife,
case,
happy life.
happy wife. I thought that would be like, if the money is the same, United States is not a bad market for a player who wants to maybe have a chiller career. I don't know if it's for a younger player, but it's definitely for like a 28, 29-year-old who already had his, glorious moment in Europe, and maybe they know that they're never going to be Messi or Vini Jr. or, someone that is going to have like a longer spotlight. And they can come in here and play here and have a nice life.
But that goes back to what we've talked about MLS being a retirement league. I'm saying that if I'm in the prime of my career and I can take the same wages at FC Cincinnati or I can at Brighton and Hove Albion, where am I going to go for my career? And it's like, why would I pick MLS over the Premier League? The Premier League, you have a chance of playing in the Champions League. You have a chance of winning. You can be that Leicester and 1,500 to 1 odds and win the league and get promoted and relegated. In the MLS, like you said, you're like, oh, it's a cushy life and, this, that, and the other thing. So it's like, why in the prime of my career, if they do get rid of the cap and all the rules that they currently have, which is kind of holding them back, but is also keeping that parity in MLS.
But 27
why would I
want
want to come to MLS?
Prime. Don't
Yeah,
think
so why would I want to come
27-year-old
here?
players? But that's if there are other 27-year-old good players in the league, and the league is becoming more competitive, yet it's still chiller than Europe because you play less games, I would come. If I'm going to make the same amount of money playing, 16 matches versus 38, when you think about it, mathematically speaking, it's a better deal. And if the league is getting more exciting, because that I'm Cincinnati and I'm going to play with Nashville and I'm going to have other global, players in there playing against me. So like if the level of the game is becoming more and more competitive, for the same amount of money, playing less games in a season is a good deal. And it doesn't have to be a retirement league.
So you must be a big Live Golf fan then? That's
Not
how
really, because is that what all those guys are like after?
That's what all those guys, they jumped the PGA Tour and they went to Live Golf because they were playing less tournaments, 3 rounds a tournament instead of 4. There were no cuts, and they were just going back and they were cashing these big checks. But again, you lose the actual competition. And in golf, you see how those guys compete during the major championships, and they don't really compete outside of a few here and there. But for the most part, they've kind of cashed it in. So, like, do you want to just come and cash it in the prime of your career, or do you want to compete at the highest level? And if you're in the Premier League and you're playing against the top teams in La Liga and Serie A and Bundesliga, etc., or do you want to play against Cruz Azul?
Did they lose their spotlight? Those who made the move to live golf are no longer important golf players?
Nobody watches live. The
Okay.
numbers prove it. These guys, like I'm sure I'm sure John Rahm is obviously still big in Arizona and in Spain, but in the broad scheme of things in the game of golf, he's not a significant player anymore because he cashed it in, and that's the choice he made. And there were some guys who said, I'm going strictly for the money, and then there were other guys who went and said, I want to grow the game. So it's like now we're getting off on a golf tangent, but it's the same, I think, in this situation, depending on, to me, there's a lot of ifs. If these players go,
If,
if the level is higher, if I can make the same wages. But
yeah.
number one is they haven't changed any of the rules yet. They haven't changed the calendar to match the calendar of the rest of the world. They need to do that first to then try to incentivize some of these other players to come. But again, they can't just rely on the 35-year-old Thomas Mullers to come in and change the face of the league because the guy is on his way out. He's no spring chicken. If I had $1 every time I said spring chicken, I would
You
be
will be rich and buy your FIFA club or like World Cup tickets.
exactly. You've talked FIFA, tickets are on sale. Messi extends, it obviously makes a lot of sense for him. Shifting gears a little bit, we've had some significant investment on the women's game. And I know you were following the women's national team,
Mm-hmm.
but over the last few weeks, we've had a couple of professional athletes in North America invest in women's soccer. So a few weeks ago, we had Caleb Williams, the Chicago Bears quarterback, invested in Boston Legacy, and we did an episode on Legacy. So obviously, great to have him on board there. And Jimmy Butler, I think 6-time NBA All Star or something like that.
Yeah.
I've lost count. He just joined as a minority owner of San Diego Wave. So I think it's great that these teams, one, a little more established. I know the Wave have been around for a few years. Boston hasn't started playing yet, and they're already getting these high-profile male athletes who are saying, "I see value in this product. I want to put my hard-earned dollars behind it." So you cover the business of the women's game. How significant are these investments for these clubs, and just kind of validating what the NWSL has become?
There's nothing better than cross promotion, right? These people are not only have big, fat checkbooks, but also they have great audiences that they can bring in. Like if, let's say, I follow, Jimmy Butler, and I'm just, now that he's an investor in San Diego Wave, who says I won't be paying attention to San Diego Wave just out of my admiration, my love for the player. It's great. I think for the casual fans, they can bring the casual fans to these franchises, to these teams, and turn them into more serious fans, because the product on the pitch is literally very compelling for sports fans. And I'm not saying that because I watch more and more women's soccer for the last few years. I just say it is really exciting to watch women's soccer. The other important thing that I think it's worth mentioning, if you invest today in NWSL, when the valuations are still in the 9 digits, you're getting great bang for your buck. You come in now, and you know that with the growth predictions of this league, it's going to go from 16 to perhaps all the way to 30 teams, like as the commissioner always says. There's nothing that can stop us from being like NFL and having 30 teams, she said in multiple occasions. It's a great place to come in. You understand what it is, and perhaps you can expand your investment in the future. But even if you have a minority stake today at this league, it's like as if you invested in NFL in 1970s, or like early 80s. That's what it is. Commercially, very smart investment, I think, for those who are coming in at this stage.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a win-win. And someone like Jimmy Butler, during the NBA bubble in Florida, I think it was down there, he launched his Big Face coffee brand, where he literally just started a little coffee truck and was like, you know what? I bet these guys would pay $20 for a good cup of Joe, and they did.
$20 for coffee?
Yeah, but they're all millionaire basketball players. You know, they're not going and getting
Still.
your bodega cup of coffee. But he launched this brand out of seeing an opportunity of, we're confined to this one area, all of us. You know, they brought in, barbers, and they had other amenities, but he was like, I want a really good cup of coffee. We're not allowed to go out and get it and get people to come in and bring it to us and that kind of stuff. So he launched this company, and now it's this massive company, and I see it all over the place. I don't drink coffee, but he had the business savvy to come up with this idea, and it's obviously paid dividends. So he's looking at that investment and looking at this one in the wave, being like, okay, I can get in at a lower price point, like you said, based on the valuation. I know the club just sold, and Angel City sold, and all that kind of stuff like that. But you get in now, like you said, it's that hockey stick trajectory, and it goes up, and in 10, 20 years' time, he's sitting there drinking his Big Face coffee, counting his
$20 coffee is nothing then.
It's nothing. So it makes so much sense to do. It helps build his brand as this entrepreneur and this investor, because, again, he's no spring chicken, that eventually he's going to retire soon. Caleb Williams, obviously a little bit younger, but they, again, have the forethought of, how can I make the money and the status that I have now pay long-term dividends long after I stop throwing a football or dribbling a basketball?
I think there are a few little things that we should add to this episode that I feel like if we don't mention it, people will be like, oh, they're trying to hide these information from us. Turkey Federation betting probe. Turkish Football Federation is investigating more than 150 refs in different pro leagues in the country. 371 of 571 active referees have at least one account with a betting company, the story said. And what did I tell you as a response? Turkeys always go big or go home. If we don't, we don't do small corruption.
If we're gonna have a betting scandal, everyone is gonna
be involved.
You could bet on that.
I think the story said 10 refs bet on 10,000 matches.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think
Okay.
The first one is about the integrity of the game, number one, right? And how, as a fan, I'm spending my hard-earned dollars for my TV subscription or to go to the match and all of that. Am I getting an authentic experience? No. I'm being robbed of what's supposed to be a fair sporting event that is now biased because someone put money on this game. The number two thing is, who is the one who's responsible for this? Because you have all of these clubs and all of these leagues have their official betting partners and the front of kit sponsors, and it's like we've seen it in the U.S. where the pendulum has just swung massively in one direction now that the Paps vote was repealed. And in the UK, in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken, they're banning the front of kit sponsors if they're gambling, because you don't want kids and people who are easily, addicted to these kinds of things to get addicted to them, and then they're living out on the street. So it's like there needs to be that middle ground. So is that onus and responsibility on the federations? Is it on the leagues? Is it on the clubs? I don't know, but it can't be, hey, Galatasaray versus Fenerbahce brought to you by DraftKings. Like, it can't be like that. And that's what we see here, and that's what we see in the NBA. Literally, ESPN was breaking the news about this NBA betting scandal, and they had to take the odds away from the bottom line about NBA games. And it's just like, it's such a fine line, and you're running into all of these issues, and I think we need to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, we need to preserve the integrity of the games here. We can't just shove betting down people's throats. And maybe it's on these betting operators to sit here and do background checks on these people, being like, oh, I see this guy. He's an official in Turkey. We're not going to let this guy register. There needs to be better checks and balances to prevent this, because, again, ultimately, at the end of the day, the players are getting cheated and the fans are getting cheated. And when you cheat the fans and you cheat the players, people are going to get pissed off, and they're not going to tune in, and they're not going to spend their money to watch this. And then you have no league, all because of somebody trying to make extra money.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of ending this episode, because we're all about the fans, all about the quality of the product on the pitch. And We will keep talking about this in the future for sure. But thank you for listening to us. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Please download our episodes and wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you have any questions or comments, please drop them on our social media.
Or keep them to yourself. I kid. Please, we want to hear all your rants and raves because you listen to ours. Don't you love the fact that like every World Cup, there's like something that comes out of it? Like the vuvuzelas in South Africa.
That was awful.
Depends on the context.
By the time I was coming back from South Africa, I just cannot. I couldn't anymore. It was so annoying. I brought one with me and I was like, if anyone uses this in my house, I will shoot that person. So I think I throw it away.
And that was the last we saw of your husband.
Finance of Football comes to you from the Frequency Machine Podcast Network. Hit us up on social on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube
for more football business and our enlightened opinions.
This episode was produced by co-hosts Asli, Pelit, and Michael LoRé. It was edited by Ryan Hammond. Mixing and mastering by Julian Kwasniewski. Our theme music is by Hatamet Tsunami. Our show is executive produced by Stacy Book and Avi Glajansky for Frequency Machine. Find more about Finance of Football at frequencymachine.com. Follow us on YouTube at Finance of Football and listen anywhere you get podcasts. Please like and subscribe. Help us reach more people. We love you for it.